locations right near you. Rams the good food people in store specials for you. Rams the good food people. Rams. When you need better service, Rams is always here. Better value, better prices. Rams is always here. Rewarding your loyalty. Rams is always here. We are community. We are family. We are family. Rams for you and me. We are community. Rams for you and me.
Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hosfords.
Caribbean numbers come and play. Just one single dollar, that is the way. You can pick one number or two or three. I win up to 20,000, you see. 3 ways to play, 3 draws a day, 3 ways to win. Hear what we say. Caribbean numbers is the easiest game to play.
The new Caribbean numbers
So play today.
at any Caribbean lottery agent island-wide.
So play today.
A pleasant good morning to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, to the regional and international diaspora. Welcome to today's edition of Island Tea, just about 11 minutes after the hour of 8. It is the 19th day of February 2026. Welcome in to today's program. Just to remind you, we are on your FM dial at 98.9. We're being simulcast on TVC Channel 40, Facebook, as well as YouTube. Our local number, 466-0989. In the U.S., 1-305-921-4619 or 1-718-285-6984. In the U.K., 0333440065. Quint, good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm trying my best to be okay. As we begin today's program, I was listening to something last night and I fell asleep and I didn't get to complete it. But as we begin today's program, I saw an interesting article as we continue to share concerns for our colleagues and friends over there in Cuba. And this article is from CNN World. It says, no food, no fuel, no tourists. On the U.S. pressure, life in Cuba grinds to a halt, and it's by Patrick Opman. And it says, Mandy Pruna remembers a nostalgia-filled grin the influx of American travelers that came to Cuba after then U.S. President Barack Obama restored diplomatic relations with the island in 2015. Pruna and his bright red 1957 Chevrolet were in constant demand, and he says countless visitors, including celebrities like Will Smith, Rihanna, Kim Kardashian, paid princely sums, at least for Cuba, to go on classic car tours with him. His Chevy was one of the 3 vintage American automobiles that U.S. diplomats selected to be in the background for the flag-raising ceremony at the U.S. Embassy in Havana that marked the official restoration of ties between the two countries following decades of bitter animosity. All sectors of society benefited from that, Pruna said, referring to the brief improvement in relations. You saw people painting their houses, opening new businesses. For me, it was fantastic. It was the best era for tourism in Cuba. Now, Cuba may be experiencing the most profound moment of economic uncertainty that the island residents have endured in decades, if not over their entire lives. Through military action in Venezuela and threats of tariffs on Mexico, the Trump administration has shut off the flow of oil to Cuba, attempting to strong-arm the communist-run island into making significant political and economic reforms. Cuba does not appear to have any remaining allies willing to supply hundreds of millions of dollars worth of fuel needed to power the economy. What oil the island has left is running out. The twin loss of fuel and tourists for people like Pruna has been catastrophic. He said in quotes, I need gas to be able to work. I need tourists to be able to work, he said. As the crisis drags on, life is slowly grinding to a halt across the island of nearly 10 million people. Classes have been suspended and many schools and workers furloughed to save energy. Near vacant hotels have been shuttered and flights from Russia and Canada cancelled as there is not enough jet fuel on the island for longer international flights. The UK and Canada have warned citizens to avoid non-essential travel to Cuba. Last week, organizers canceled the yearly Habano Cigar Festival that brings in millions of dollars of revenue. Sherritt International on Tuesday announced that the company is pausing nickel and cobalt mining operations in Cuba amid the fuel crunch. Many government-run hospitals have cut services, and a lack of fuel and working dump trucks has caused trash to pile up across whole neighborhoods. On nearly every street corner, conversations center on whether power cuts are taking place and for how long. At night in Havana, the stars are often clearly visible as most of its city is swathed in near total darkness. The Trump administration says the Cuban government needs to finally open the island's centralized economy before it collapses. There is no oil, there's no money, there's nothing, U.S. President Donald Trump told reporters Monday, adding that Secretary of State Marco Rubio is leading efforts to negotiate with top Cuban officials. Rubio, who is a Cuban American, I'll say that again, Rubio, who is a Cuban American and a longtime opponent of the Cuban government, has previously said The only thing he intends to discuss with the island's communist leadership is when they would relinquish power. He said, and quote, this is a regime that has survived almost entirely based on subsidies, first from the Soviet Union, then from former Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez. Rubio said last week during the Munich Security Conference, for the first time, it has no subsidies coming in from anyone, and the model has been laid bare, end quote. After so many years of living on the precipice of economic collapse, a humanitarian crisis may be coming for Cuba. Almost most of the food Cubans consume is imported, following decades of government disastrous agricultural policies. That tenuous lifeline is at risk, though, as anti-Castro Cuban American politicians have called for a total cutoff of assistance from the U.S. This is the moment to stop everything. No more tourism, no more remittances, no more mechanism that continues to finance and sustain dictatorship, says Republican Congresswoman from Florida, Maria Elvaria Salazar, a former journalist at CNN in Espanol. It is devastating to think about a mother's hunger, about a child who needs immediate help. No one is indifferent to that pain, but that is precisely the brutal dilemma we face as exiles. To resolve the short-term suffering or to free Cuba forever, Salazar said. Already, some of the private sector companies importing food from the U.S. have suspended operations, saying they are no longer able to refrigerate their products during the daily power outages. This is so sad.
Yeah, and especially having heard comments from China and Russia that they will be giving assistance. So is it on the way or what?
I'm not quite sure if it's on the way because you see they're going to put tariffs. But I know China and Russia doesn't care.
Yeah.
They're going to put tariffs on folks. I don't know. I've been trying
Well,
to
I
find
know.
out if their oil is on the way because you see tourism is already cut off.
Yeah.
Imagine somebody that said everybody basically has to feel the hunger just because they are exiles. And Rubio doesn't understand. Yes, he was born in Miami.
Don't say don't understand. He doesn't care.
But he doesn't see. No, I said he doesn't understand because you see, they don't call him an American, you know. They call him a Cuban American. That's why I said that twice.
Yeah.
He was born in Miami. Yes, he's of Cuban lineage, but he's an American.
Well,
Why does he need to be called a Cuban American?
I'm going to play a speech that he made, right? And you're going to hear playing out what he doesn't consider himself. He considers himself white.
Okay. What's his soul?
Hello, caller. Okay, we lost that. Let me try again. Hello, caller.
Good rising, guys. Good rising, Quentin, Cotentin, and the listeners. You know, they don't just get up and decide they're going to do these things that they're doing. They strategize. They plan these things in their board meetings. And it's high time we have to recognize. You know, I've been going back on the airstrike in Vincent. This is a clear and present danger for us in the Caribbean. Just Sunday, Quinton, Cotentia, we had a military aircraft landed at our airport. Now, what and when, if and when, it was an airstrike on the fishing vessel in St. Vincent. But what happened when those boats are underground in the Caribbean and lives are being unalived? What is CARICOM doing to the airstrike in St. Vincent that killed 2 fishermen? An airstrike. So they have liberty to come underground, but what if they decide to just, unalive some of the citizens of these Caribbean islands? Now, Quentin Cotentia, I listened to Marco Rubio's speech in Europe, and, more than once, Mark used the word ancestors, he used civilization and sovereignty. But guys, really, what is their civilization? Because you see, what they're doing right now is like to reinforce the change that is taking place, this cosmic change that is taking place. It's like they're telling us, well, hi, it's time that we strike fear again because they want to colonize the planet all over again. And most of it is geared towards us. I've been asking myself this question. The resources of the continent of Africa, is it for a blessing or is it our curse? And why I say this? In the Bible, they tell us it is the land of milk and honey. But we know going forward, they're gearing towards green energy. And all of the resources, the minerals of Africa, is about technology. And they are depending on it. But what they're doing now, they're testing their perimeters. It's almost like we use a phrase, say, oh, let me just practice, I'm going to catch a whale. And guys, we need to be a part of this 24th to the 27th CARICOM heads of government that's going to be here in St. Kitts. Because it would be interesting to see what our Prime Minister, what stand he's going to take on this. This is a clear and present danger, guys. I've been saying all along, you know, everything that we are experiencing today is skewed against us. We, all other race. Indians are becoming more Indians. Chinese are being more Chinese. But who are we? Do we know who we are? What role are we playing towards the future? Africans in the Caribbean, Africans on the continent. Where are we in all of this that is happening before our eyes? Are we going to allow Trump in Europe to just do and accept it? This is no longer going along to get along, guys. Our future is at stake. And we need to be real here. This is not somebody's fake out. This is reality at our doorstep. You know, it is scary. And yes, maybe our prime ministers are afraid because, like I say, where would they be without their guns? But that's what they're ruling by, their guns. We got to unite, guys. They cannot annihilate us. We know what they're capable of, but they cannot annihilate us. So let us join together. Our unity will cripple their misery. I mean, what is with us that we can't realize and recognize what is at play here? They know their time is up, but they're not going to hand over this reign to us.
Well, you think, I mean, sometimes this is why I say people have to be realistic. You think they're going to just give up the world and, I mean, let's be realistic.
Mind their own business?
They're not going to do that. Look,
saying.
they have only two choices. They have two choices, right? One of the choice is to do the right thing, which is to, you've raped and robbed for 400 years. You have all the riches now. Now that the countries that you have raped and robbed are developing, they are in a position where they want to now take control of their resources. And you can now say, okay, we have the monies now, we'll pay you a fair price for what you have. That is one thing they can do, right? The other thing is what Marco Rubio is proposing. Marco Rubio is proposing that they get hostile, they create wars, and they don't ask for anything, they just take what they want. I'm going to play his speech. I want you to wrap up so that I can get a time to play it. I've broken it down as much as I could, but it's still a bit lengthy. And that is what, so it's either they accommodate fair prices or they go Marco Rubio's way.
I'll listen after.
Is up to them, right? Because if you listen to the comments from the world media after Marco Rubio's speech, they say, oh, well, so commendable, so refreshing. Well, listen to Marco Rubio's speech, and I want you to listen carefully. Listen carefully to every word, every sentence, every phrase of Marco Rubio's speech.
We gather here today as members of a historic alliance, an alliance that saved and changed the world. You know, when this conference began in 1963, it was in a nation, actually it was on a continent, that was divided against itself. And just months before that first conference, before our predecessors first met here in Munich, the Cuban Missile Crisis had brought the world to the brink of nuclear destruction. Even as World War II still burned fresh in the memory of Americans and Europeans alike, we found ourselves staring down the barrel of a new global catastrophe, one with the potential for a new kind of destruction, more apocalyptic and final than anything before in the history of mankind. Thousands of years of Western civilization hung in the balance. At that time, victory was far from certain. But we were driven by a common purpose. We were unified not just by what we were fighting against, we were unified by what we were fighting for. And together, Europe and America prevailed. And a continent was rebuilt. Our people prospered. In time, the East and West blocs were reunited. A civilization was once again made whole. And the East and West became one again. But the euphoria of this triumph led us to a dangerous delusion that we had entered, quote, the end of history, that every nation would now be a liberal democracy, that the ties formed by trade and by commerce would now replace nationhood, that the rules-based global order, an overused term, would now replace the national interest, and that we would now live in a world without borders where everyone became a citizen of the world. This was a foolish idea that ignored both human nature and it ignored the lessons of over 5,000 years of recorded human history. And it has cost us dearly. In this delusion, we embraced a dogmatic vision of free and unfettered trade, shuttering our plants, resulting in large parts of our societies being deindustrialized, shipping millions of working and middle-class jobs overseas. We increasingly outsourced our sovereignty. To appease a climate cult, we have imposed energy policies on ourselves that are impoverishing our people. And in a pursuit of a world without borders, we opened our doors to an unprecedented wave of mass migration that threatens the cohesion of our societies, the continuity of our culture, and the future of our people. We made these mistakes together. And now, together, we owe it to our people to face those facts and to move forward, to rebuild. Under President Trump, the United States of America will once again take on the task of renewal and restoration, driven by a vision of a future as proud, as sovereign, and as vital as our civilization's past. And while we are prepared, if necessary, to do this alone, it is our preference and it is our hope to do this together with you, our friends here in Europe. For the United States and Europe, we belong together. America was founded 250 years ago, but the roots began here on this continent long before. The men who settled and built the nation of my birth arrived on our shores carrying the memories and the traditions and the Christian faith of their ancestors as a sacred inheritance, an unbreakable link between the old world and the new. We are part of one civilization, Western civilization. We are bound to one another by the deepest bonds that nations could share, forged by centuries of shared history, Christian faith, culture, heritage, language, ancestry, and the sacrifices our forefathers made together for the common civilization to which we have fallen heir. We want Europe to be strong. We believe that Europe must survive, because the two great wars of the last century serve for us as history's constant reminder that ultimately our destiny is and will always be intertwined with yours. It was here, in Europe, where the ideas that planted the seeds of liberty that changed the world were born. It was here, in Europe, which gave the world the rule of law, the universities, and the scientific revolution. But only if we are unapologetic in our heritage and proud of this common inheritance can we together begin the work of envisioning and shaping our economic and our political future. Deindustrialization was not inevitable. It was a conscious policy choice, a decades-long economic undertaking that stripped our nations of their wealth, of their productive capacity, and of their independence. And the loss of our supply chain sovereignty was not a function of a prosperous and healthy system of global trade. It was foolish. It was a foolish but voluntary transformation of our economy that left us dependent on others for our needs and dangerously vulnerable to crisis. Together, we can reindustrialize our economies and rebuild our capacity to defend our people. But the work of this new alliance should not be focused just on military cooperation and reclaiming the industries of the past. It should also be focused on together advancing our mutual interests in new frontiers to build a new Western century. Creating a Western supply chain for critical minerals, together we can not only take back control of our own industries and supply chains, we can prosper in the areas that will define the 21st century. But we must also gain control of our national borders. Controlling who and how many people enter our countries is a fundamental act of national sovereignty. And the failure to do so is not just an abdication of one of our most basic duties owed to our people. It is an urgent threat to the fabric of our societies and the survival of our civilization itself. We can no longer place the so-called global order above the vital interests of our people and our nations. And we don't need to dismantle the global institutions of the old order that together we built. But these must be reformed. These must be rebuilt. This is the path that President Trump and the United States has embarked upon. It is the path we ask you here in Europe to join us on. It is a path we have walked together before and hope to walk together again. For 5 centuries before the end of the Second World War, the West had been expanding. Its missionaries, its pilgrims, its soldiers, its explorers pouring out from its shores to cross oceans, settle new continents, build vast empires extending out across the globe. But in 1945, for the first time since the age of Columbus, it was contracting. Europe was in ruins. Half of it lived behind an iron curtain, and the rest looked like it would soon follow. The great Western empires had entered into terminal decline, accelerated by godless communist revolutions and by anti-colonial uprisings. Against that backdrop, then as now, many came to believe that the West's age of dominance had come to an end, and that our future was destined to be a faint and feeble echo of our past. But together, our predecessors recognized that decline was a choice, and it was a choice they refused to make. This is what we did together once before, and this is what President Trump and the United States want to do again now. And this is why we do not want our allies to be weak, because that makes us weaker. We want allies who can defend themselves so that no adversary will ever be tempted to test our collective strength. This is why we do not want our allies to be shackled by guilt and shame. We want allies who are proud of their culture and of their heritage, who understand that we are heirs to the same great and noble civilization, and who together with us are willing and able to defend it. For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline. We do not seek to separate, but to revitalize an old friendship and renew the greatest civilization in human history. What we want is a reinvigorated alliance that recognizes that what has ailed our societies is not just a set of bad policies, but a malaise of hopelessness and complacency. The alliance that we want is one that is not paralyzed into inaction by fear. Fear of climate change, fear of war, fear of technology. Instead, we want an alliance that boldly races into the future. And the only fear we have is the fear of the shame of not leaving our nations prouder, stronger, and wealthier for our children. An alliance ready to defend our people, to safeguard our interests, and to preserve the freedom of action that allows us to shape our own destiny. Not one that exists to operate a global welfare state and atone for the purported sins of past generations. An alliance that does not allow its power to be outsourced, constrained, or subordinated to systems beyond its control. One that does not depend on others for the critical necessities of its national life. And one that does not maintain the polite pretense that our way of life is just one among many, and that asks for permission before it acts. And above all, an alliance based on the recognition that we, the West, what we have inherited together, is something that is unique and distinctive and irreplaceable. Because this, after all, is the very foundation of the transatlantic bond. Acting together in this way, we will not just help recover a sane foreign policy, it will restore to us a clear sense of ourselves. It will restore a place in the world. And in so doing, it will rebuke and deter the forces of civilizational erasure. So in a time of headlines heralding the end of the transatlantic era, let it be known and clear to all that this is neither our goal nor our wish. Because for us Americans, our home may be in the Western Hemisphere, but we will always be a child of Europe. Our story began with an Italian explorer whose adventure into the great unknown to discover a new world brought Christianity to the Americas and became the legend that defined the imagination of our pioneer nation. Our first colonies were built by English settlers, to whom we owe not just the language we speak, but the whole of our political and legal system. Our great Midwestern heartland was built by German farmers and craftsmen who transformed empty plains into a global agricultural powerhouse. Our expansion into the interior followed the footsteps of French fur traders and explorers whose names, by the way, still adorn the street signs and town names all across the Mississippi Valley. And you know that in the year that my country was founded, Lorenzo and Catalina Giraldi lived in Casal Monferrato in the Kingdom of Piedmont, Sardinia. And Jose and Manuela Reina lived in Sevilla, Spain. I don't know what, if anything, they knew about the 13 colonies which had gained their independence from the British Empire. But here's what I'm certain of. They could have never imagined that 250 years later, one of their direct descendants would be back here today on this continent as the chief diplomat of that infant nation. And yet here I am, reminded by my own story that both our histories and our fates will always be linked. We have fought against each other, then reconciled, then fought, then reconciled again. And we have bled and died side by side on battlefields from Kapyong to Kandahar. And I'm here today to leave it clear that America is charting the path for a new century of prosperity, and that once again, we want to do it together with you, our cherished allies and our oldest friends. We want to do it together with you, with a Europe that is proud of its heritage and of its history, with a Europe that has the spirit of creation and liberty that sent ships out into uncharted seas and birthed our civilization, with a Europe that has the means to defend itself and the will to survive. We should be proud of what we achieved together in the last century, but now we must confront and embrace the opportunities of a new one. Because yesterday is over. The future is inevitable. And our destiny together awaits. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I note him saying they built the U.S., but what if they had gone to the U.S.? Well, they went to the U.S. and they met folks there.
Yeah.
But what if they had worked together with those folks there instead of getting rid of them and helping to build
No,
whatever?
but when you hear this man speak, this man, everything is we. And he said, he said the one who came and discovered was the great Italian explorer who brought Christianity and that's Columbus,
Yeah, I
who
know.
almost decimated the Taínos, whose blood he has in there. Why he's referred to as a Latin American. But like I said, a lot of them, majority of them, feel that they are white. Let's take a bit of a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Found the sound 98.9 FM.
You could win more with the Mega Ball. Pick 3 and pick 4, you could get it all.
Yes, playing Pick 3 and Pick 4 with the Caribbean Lottery just got more rewarding. For just an extra $1, increase your winnings by $1,000 with Pick 3 and $10,000 with Pick 4 when you play the Mega Ball.
You ready to win a little extra? You ready to win a little extra? You ready to win a little extra? Then get on the ball.
Play Pick 3 and Pick 4 with Mega Ball at Caribbean Lottery agents island-wide. Must be 21 and over to play.
Magnum, my brand. Everybody put your Magnum in the air now. From you a drink Magnum, make me see. Take charge of things now your place now. From the river to the beach to the street. Hot Magnum when me have in a me hand there. Here a sipper, she tell me sweet. Look for me watch for your quick time check. Yeah. Right now a Magnum a for your beat. Enjoy yourself every day of the week with a Magnum. My life I forget sweeter. Must be 18 years and older to drink. Drink responsibly.
Here comes the Mega Ball. You could win more with the Mega Ball. Pick 3 and Pick 4 and you could get all.
Yes, playing Pick 3 and Pick 4 with the Caribbean Lottery just got more rewarding. Now you can win more with the Mega Ball. For just an extra $1, increase your winnings by $1,000 with the Pick 3 and a big $10,000 with the Pick 4. Don't wait, play today. Play Pick 3 and Pick 4 with the Mega Ball at Caribbean Lottery agents island-wide.
You ready to win a little extra? Then get on the ball.
Must be 21 and over to play.
And we are back on Island Tea. Oh, I hope you didn't get the tail end of that, Stoops, but myself and Quint were discussing something. I cannot believe this is how we behave. That's why when I read the article, I was sure to say Cuban American twice, because that is what they labeled the man as, a Cuban American. Although he was born there, he is still labeled as a Cuban American. No, his parents went to the U.S. even before there was a revolution. His parents were there in 1957. I've read articles that said his parents visit Cuba from numerous times. So I still
We have a caller. Hello, caller.
Caller, go ahead. You're live on Island Tea. Good morning. Oh, and on the other side of breaking news, I see Andrew Mobatin Windsor arrested.
Hello, caller.
Yes, good morning, Quint and Cortez, man.
Good
morning to you guys. Yeah, man, Quint, the master of the clips, man. Yeah, it's very striking to see, where these guys' mindset are, man. But I want to say quickly, Marco Rubio, he's from the Cuban descent or whatever.
No, not whatever. He is from Cuban descent.
Yeah. Okay,
he was born in the U.S.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. He got a dream to see the Cuban government fall. He's obsessed with that stuff over there, man.
Very obsessed.
Yeah, Cortez, you mentioned something yesterday about a stamp.
Yeah.
Having the Prime Minister and the Premier on. Mm-hmm. I'm going to quickly say, these guys are glorifying themselves. And, they're brainwashing us, man. They're brainwashing us. I don't see none of these politicians on the local scene there as any gods. I mean, what did these guys do to deserve to be on a stamp?
But it's not only them. The Taiwanese ambassador is there too, so maybe it has some link with Taiwan as well.
Yeah, but still, I mean, are they a centurion? Are they a national hero? We're glorifying these guys, man, and these guys are doing all manner of evil to the Federation. What I want people to concentrate on in St. Kitts Nevis is that Destiny Project on Nevis. You know, the billionaires and the millionaires, they're anchoring off in our harbors, waiting to come ashore. They're waiting for the green light to come in and take over our country. We are losing our lands. Once we lose our lands, it is all over for us. And, you know, I'll just probably leave it there, man.
Okay.
We got to wake up there. We got to wake up and pay attention to what's going on in our own small space.
Yeah.
And to the Prime Minister, I see the Prime Minister taking a lot of trips all over the place, but he has a meeting set up, a CARICOM heads of meeting set up that's coming up. Me personally, if I was him, I would stay out the skies and concentrate locally for now until when that meeting comes up.
But isn't his meeting with all the CARICOM leaders? Isn't it? That's why he's out. So
Yeah. I mean, if there's a meeting coming up, why do he need to travel free? I mean,
maybe we need to ask him.
He could have handled some of these meetings on a video call or whatever. I mean, is he so addicted to traveling?
No, but maybe the meetings call for more than a video call. So maybe we should have a conversation.
Yeah, but there's a planned meeting coming up. You wait until when the meeting comes up, like he said, eyeball to eyeball discussions. I mean, if you travel and go to these places before, right immediately, that means you don't need to sit them in the meeting again.
Yeah, there's another caller waiting.
You know, I'll leave it there for now, Quint, man, and I'll let the other person come in. I mean,
okay.
You know, clear.
Hello, caller.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Yeah, good day.
How are you guys this morning?
Trying to be better than yesterday.
We're okay, and you?
Amen, amen. I'm good. Trying to be better than yesterday after contents here. But Quint, that tape you just play, right? You hear it's very scary. You hear the tone? I mean, the tone is very scary. And like Burl just said about this SSZ project, we should be very aware because remember, look at he bold enough to say he think about no atonement for the past. So in other words, he said he's not apologizing to what they do to people. And
remember,
if you realize,
and remember, I cut down that clip because if you listen to his originals, his complete speech, you're going to hear him over and over say the West, and you're going to hear him actually use the middle passage. And there's a part in there where he actually, the part that you heard where he said we should not have to apologize for the transatlantic bond that we have. You understand what that means?
I mean, he's brazen. I mean, we should be very aware. You just don't take these things lightly. They're dangerous. And if you realize it's us.
Yeah.
Yep.
And focusing on minerals and this, where they gonna get the minerals from? In Africa and other countries that have the minerals that they plan to go do whatever they have to do to get them.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, that is what they're telling you. They would invade and take these people's property.
That is why he says we don't want our allies to be weak. You must not have any fear of war, any fear of asking for our mineral resources. You understand? So?
Oh, well, like he says, it's not on your continent, it's not on your land, it's not on your how it is ours, how they come claim to it.
Well,
people think.
Trump said in relation to Venezuela, we will take back our oil, and that is what he did. So.
Oh, well,
I
so
don't
far
know,
from there.
Oil from Venezuela. That's what he said. Our oil.
But our way.
Yes, he did say that.
And he all the way over there.
But I'm saying that Marco Rubio is reiterating what his boss says.
I know.
But then you see, Quint, look at the Caribbean islands what have oil. They should even be aware now and think hard because Venezuela oil.
No, but they want to link up to good old US of A, and US of A is going to. And we said it, we said it when the Guyana minister, Guyana leaders started to become more silent, and then we realized that, hey, America is in control of their oil, and now he's not saying anything, and you hear Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is saying, we don't want to be asking you, and he said America must not be what? Something like, to say, a state that looks after the rest of the world, right?
Right. And talking about people coming into the West, like the people don't go into other people.
And you realize he talks about migration too, basically, because people go to certain countries like the US.
I mean, if the Caribbean leaders don't have ears to hear, then something is wrong. Because it's time now that we get it together and recognize what is going on around us.
This is why I often say we are in a comfort level where we just feel we've arrived, the world is at our fingertips now, and we're into all of the things that seem to be heading us more down into a rabbit hole than offering us a viable survival.
Well, Quinn, I'm gonna say this SSD project that they want, that if you realize they're putting these projects all over.
And the question is why is so much happening to us, the black people of the world, at the same time? At the same time.
You recognize it?
Yeah. You think it's coincidence? And our leaders don't see that. With all that is happening, and with all that we said, and with all of the potential for us losing what our foreparents fought for, we're hearing that Mark Brantley signed off on it.
Because we have this concept of development, all that glitters is not gold.
And I would venture to say that most likely our Prime Minister is going to sign off on it too, because
He probably already did.
They are desperate. They don't understand it is that desperation that is making us putting us in a compromising position. But when you listen to Marco Rubio, you can hear the desperation in his voice too. And I've always said the way America is moving right now is because they see what is unfolding in Africa. And
he's trying very hard to convince France and them, come on, let's go fight. Come on.
Let's take back what we had. He said we built a vast empire, our foreparents, and now it is being threatened by anti-colonial uprising. That's what he just said. Anti-colonial uprising. You know what that means? Do not go against colonialism.
Oh God, I'm gonna come off. Let somebody else jump in, Mr. Matt Mahan. Good morning again, guys. It's a while I have not heard Sylvine. I pray she's okay.
She was on yesterday. We had a good bit of a rapport. She was on, not on Island Tea. I think
on Voices?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I did not hear.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Well, let's take another commercial break, and we'll be right back. Let me make sure that I line up that commercial break right about now. Yes, here we go.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Don't throw those bottles away. Turn them into money today. Vitamalt bottles equal cash in your pocket. It's super easy. Just take those empty Vitamalt bottles to any Cara Brewery distribution truck or any drinks depot in St. Kitts and Nevis. We're keeping our beautiful Twin Island paradise clean. Vitamalt bottles equal cash back. Keep it clean, keep it green. Vitamalt bottle returns. Your bottles, your cash, your island.
Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.
Caribbean numbers come and play. Just one single dollar, that is the way. You can pick one number or two or three. I win up to 20,000, you see. 3 ways to play, 3 draws a day, 3 ways to win. Hear what we say. Caribbean numbers is the easiest game to play.
The new Caribbean numbers.
So play today.
At any Caribbean lottery agent island-wide.
So play today.
And we are back on Island T just about 58 minutes after the hour of 8, so 2 minutes to our 9 o'clock hour as we continue with our discussion. As I was mentioning, we have a caller.
Yeah.
Okay, caller, go ahead. You're live on Island T.
I think we have 2 callers.
Okay.
Yes, greetings to everybody once more again in Jesus Christ's name, the only Savior of sinners from their sins and from hell, by the gospel only, true faith only, according to the Bible only. Jesus Christ, the second person of the eternal Trinity. Now, what I would like to say is this. Yesterday, I listened to the program, and I rerun. When I listened to the program yesterday, you know, I heard Mr. McMahon said, you know, that me and Johnny, we need to hear Marco Rubio's speech and realize that basically he said we need to give up the old way because the old way is unreliable, you know. Well, for me, he's talking about the Bible. Well, let me say this. The problem with Mr. McMahon and so many others is that their false solution.
But let me just pause you there. You can continue with your statement. But with all that we've been discussing so far, and with Marco Rubio's speech, you feel that Mr. McMahon's comments are more significant than you addressing Marco Rubio and the threat that it posed to the established world when he says things like the rule-based order is an overused phrase and we are delusional and following things like the climate cult. But you're doing what we often do, again, the divide and conquer. You move away from the salient thing that could be destructive to us, and you pick on Mr. Yes, you might have disagreed with what he said, as I often do with me and him, but you don't see any relevance in what Marco Rubio says. You just jump over it, and you attack Mr. McMahon.
Well, both of them ties in. Everything ties in. They're not independent of each other. And as I was saying, Mr. McMahon said, you know, we need to give the ancient things. Well, we can't talk about John because me and John we are in 2 different boats. I'm talking about me, even though he lumped us both together. And what I'm saying is that Mr. McMahon's solution, false solution, destructive, fatal solution, is such because he leaves out God as the only answer and solution via And because God only worked via the Bible, God only worked through the Bible and by the Bible to them. And I said all that to say this. What Marco Rubio said yesterday, I'm sorry, not yesterday. What I heard Marco Rubio said yesterday, I am still waiting to see the wisdom in what Mr. McMahon said, because with all due respect, McMahon ain't said nothing new, and he has made a fatal error. America, Marco Rubio, them, Europe, all of them, and we as well, all that are happening to us by them, and what are happening by them too, because they also have their sufferings as well, and that sort of stuff. McMahon have to realize, and not just McMahon, but by extension, anybody who are listening, we all need to realize that everything is happening according to the hand of Jesus Christ. Everything, both good and evil. What the Bible said, the Bible said in Isaiah 45, God make both light and darkness and peace and evil. And he does them all. Isaiah 45, verse 7. And so what we need to realize is that the only solution to all of these things is us biblically repenting, turning to Jesus Christ, and obeying the Bible. Because if we don't, worse are going to happen. This is only the smoke. Worse are going to happen. And so I don't put my eyes on America. I don't put my eyes on Marco Rubio. I do not put my eyes on Europe.
But you put your eyes on Mr. McMahon, though.
No, I don't put my eyes on McMahon.
Yeah, because so far I've allowed you to speak, you know. So far I've heard you say Mr. McMahon made a destructive, I wrote it down, you know, a destructive and fatal error.
Yes.
But you don't say that about Mr. McMahon, about Mr. Marco Rubio. You just gloss over Mr. Rubio and say, as you often say, everything is God and it's going to happen. But you, at no time have you said that Marco Rubio has done anything. You didn't even use the word bad. But on 2 occasions you said Mr. McMahon made a destructive and fatal error. So you have attacked Mr. McMahon.
Because he addressed me. He attacked me yesterday.
Oh, so but Marco Rubio is not attacking anyone.
The other cheek. And I'm not being sarcastic. I thought you were supposed to turn the other cheek.
Well, that's another thing again. We misunderstand this turn of the other cheek. Because if you try to slap a person with your right hand on the right cheek, you would realize something different about that slap. It's not an ordinary slap. It's a very awkward slap, which had symbolic meaning in the ancient time. And not only that, the Christians were continually thrown in jail and killed and all that sort of stuff. So we got this wrong meaning of turning the other cheek.
You, Mr. Greg, is a perfect example. You're a perfect example of why Marco Rubio on numerous occasions on his speech yesterday referred to why they brought Christianity and you're a perfect example of it. See how again you jump on the slap and you say we misinterpret, but we haven't misinterpreted anything. Marco Rubio is making threats to the whole world, but no, you conveniently leave Marco Rubio alone.
Because Jesus is bigger than Marco Rubio.
And you do what the house nigger did. You attack his own
Jesus
people.
is bigger than Marco Rubio.
Anyway.
And I am saying the advice that Mr. McMahon is giving us. Marco Rubio ain't giving us this advice, you know. The advice McMahon and you included and so on that have been giving us to our destruction.
But here's the difference.
Marco Rubio ain't giving us no advice.
But here's the difference. We might be trying to give advice, but Marco Rubio is giving threats. He's not giving advice, you know. We are trying to...
Yes, he's giving threats.
We are trying to veil our way through surviving. And Marco Rubio is saying, we are going to retard your survival. But you don't attack Marco Rubio, you attack us. Finish your point, please.
Yeah, what I'm saying, God will deal with America and them for the wrong and evil that they're doing. I said that more than once on this program.
Yeah, but you don't. But
apparently
how
you
is
got
it?
amnesia.
But how is it you don't leave God to deal with me and Mr. McMahon? You have taken it on yourself.
God is dealing.
Look, you have taken it on yourself to deal personally with me and McMahon, but you leave God to deal with Mr.
God
Marco
is dealing with you
Rubio.
all too. I've said that as well. God is dealing with you, and He will destroy you all if you all don't biblically repent as well.
You hear how more vicious he becomes, this Christian, this holy Christian?
Because you're misunderstanding me.
Okay.
Because you're misunderstanding me.
Okay.
And you're saying things that are not true.
Go ahead.
And what I'm saying is that our only hope is in Jesus Christ. Only He one can protect us from ourselves and from America, Europe, and from everyone else. Otherwise, we will continue to go down the road of destruction with God destroying us and bringing us to complete ruin.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me say this before you speak, Mr. McMahon. I'll tell you this. When you listen to Greg, okay, I must have cut off Mr. McMahon by accident because I thought it was Greg. Mr. McMahon, you can call back. What Greg, what we need to read between the line with Greg is this. You see how angry he gets, and he says, because you misunderstand me, and you. Perhaps me and Mr. McMahon have had misunderstandings and we get heated, but we don't come out at each other with that kind of vicious thing. Yes, our voice go up and, we sometimes overtalk each other and we get animated, but you don't hear us giving threats. You know what that says? Let me tell you, if someone like Greg was to be a leader of this country, he would put us in the square and flog us in public, just as he has said he would do. He has said that is the Bible way to do things. He is, I'm sorry, but I don't make apologies. He is a very vicious person, and he comes from the blood of those who came in the name of Christianity and persecuted the world. Hello, go ahead, speaker. Mr. McMahon.
Good morning.
Sorry, but I had to try to defend you there, you know what I'm saying?
Good morning. Good morning all. Greg is something else. You see, I deliberately mentioned Marco Rubio's speech yesterday because it was, to me, what it was to Cleo.
Yeah.
Cleo summed it up very nicely. It was scary.
Yeah.
It is scary for anybody who is not living in the Northern Hemisphere. Okay? And that was made abundantly clear by Marco Rubio. Right? Greg obviously did not get that message. Okay? I would like to know what in the prescriptions you offer and I offer to resist what is obviously an attempt at going back to things like colonialism and so on, and exploitation. What in our prescriptions is wrong?
Yeah. What in our description is so destructive and fatal? Those are the words
those
that
are
he
strong
used.
words, destructive and fatal. I mean, he's talking superlatives now.
Yeah.
And I would also like to hear what exactly his prescription is. Because if it is just, going back to the Bible?
But that is his prescription. That is his prescription.
That is all?
That is all.
And does he think that is going to effect change?
But that is what Marco Rubio wants, that we continue to say that God will deal with it because God wants everything to happen the way he wants it to happen, and we must just stay there docile while they come and trample all over again. But Marco Rubio is in for a rude awakening, And if the West decides that they want to take us into war again, yes, there will be a lot of destruction because they have all those armament, but I think I can assure you that after that war, the West will no longer be a superpower.
But what I find interesting is the fact that it is clear, and it should be clear to Greg, that these people are using Christianity for their own ends.
Yes.
Doesn't he even accept that?
No, he's blinded. He is a convert to the kind of Christianity they want. Hold a second. Let me see if I can engage this other caller. Hello, caller.
Call him back.
Hello, caller.
Good morning, Brother Quint. Good morning, Mr. McMahon. Good morning, Brother Greg, and to all the listeners. Greg, I am, should I say petrified to see what we are coming to? We are making our perspective. We are giving our views. And now we are attacking each other. Do you know who is laughing after us? We are the damn losers. I mean, if you don't respect my opinion, I mean, whether you leave it alone or you just make your comment. But from the moment you start to lose your discipline and become angry, and, you know, that is uncalled for. Right now, it doesn't seem like we are together because we're talking each other's views. Nothing wrong in tweaking, make your perspective, but we are attacking. It's all like attacking between, and I haven't heard Mr. McMahon comment, but I listened to Greg this morning. And regardless of what, I mean, come on, better than that. We all have different views, opinions, and all I can say, we are not together. We are not together, and we are too short fused. And
do not stay there, and because Greg and there are others like him make certain comments, you throw it out there that we all as a collective, as a black people around the globe, because I'm not speaking of black as in isolation. I never do that, okay? And so don't lump us all in and say we are not united. To some extent, you're right. No. To some extent, you are right, because a lot of us need to come together and understand and chart the way forward, and a lot of us are not there. But a lot of us are there too, you know. They might be silent, but they are there.
Well, that's why I have to say we, because we mean more than one. And how much it is, I don't know. Some say behind the cloak of anonymity, but we got to come on better than that.
You heard the statement I just made. Yes. The statement I just made is this: we don't want it, mind you. That is the last thing we want in this world. But we cannot stop the world, the superpowers, from doing what they want to do. My statement was, let them start a next world war. Because if that is the way they want to go, what can we do? But I can assure you, at the end of the next world war, as devastated as the planet Earth will be, the superpowers who are trying to push us back into colonialism will no longer be superpowers. You think it's just now they've been trying to annihilate the black race? They don't seem to understand that we are here by a divine decree. No matter what they do, we will not be annihilated and wiped out before, so it will be them. And that is what they realize. They realize even in terms of breeding and getting children, they're being outnumbered. They're panicking. Go ahead.
Sometimes people don't realize they are self-destruct or to whom it may concern. But I agree with your perspective, and all I can say, right now we need unity, and unity is far from fetch than divided. So I prefer the world at peace, and man shall live in peace and tranquility.
And let me say this to you, because you've been over and over saying that you want to be a leader. You understand the kind of world that we exist in today?
Absolutely.
I don't think you do. But anyway.
I do.
Back to you, Mr. McMahon.
Yes. I often say that, yes, it's always good to have opinions. It's always good to listen to other opinions. But some opinions are so outrageous that they should be challenged.
Yes, I agree.
All I was doing yesterday, I regard it as an attack on Greg or Johnny. All I said yesterday, I said I wish they would listen to Marco Rubio's speech. That is all. Okay? And after listening to that speech, examine the opinions and see how it consorts with that particular speech. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I don't think people who are on the fence, people who are defending obviously wrong actions and so on, could listen to that speech and still come out the same. Right? It was intended for the Europeans.
Yes.
It was. You're right. It was obviously intended for the Europeans. Okay? If he was on these paths, maybe he'd make a different speech.
He would.
But you have to listen to what he says up there.
But you see, Mr. McMahon, there's something they always say. That's the developed people, the developed white world. They often say, and you're aware of it, that we don't read, okay? That is one of the things that they say. I think that they have carried that over into that the majority of don't try to be aware of things that are happening in the world. I think they also...
They fall for the thing that if you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book.
Yes, but
right?
they also
because most people not going to pay attention.
But
how many people you think listen
But
to
hear
that
this, hear this, Mr. McMahon. I'm carrying it further than the reading. I'm saying that they have also concluded that important things about the running of the world, we are too caught up in the bling bling and that we don't. So he didn't think that enough of us would hear this and analyze it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That was obvious, because that speech I think is something you would have expected in the back room somewhere where the big powerful people would be moving and shaking the world.
Yeah.
Not a public thing.
And hold a second, because I cut his speech there, but there's this brief little bit of the person who spoke after him, and listen to what the person said.
Mr. Secretary, I'm not sure you heard the sigh of relief through this hall when we were just listening to what I would interpret as a message of reassurance, of partnership. You spoke of intertwined relations between the United States and Europe. Reminds me of statements made decades ago by your predecessors when the discussion was, is actually America a European power? Is America a power in Europe? Thank you for offering this message of reassurance about our partnership. This is actually not the first time that Marco Rubio is here at the Munich Security Conference. Been here before, a couple of times, but it's the first time he has been, and he is the speaker as Secretary of State. So thank you again.
We gather here today.
So you heard that?
Yeah, of course.
Reassuring. Thank you for giving us that reassurance.
That was a rallying cry
yes.
to Europe.
People must understand. People must understand what is happening right in front of our faces. You know.
This is going. I don't think they are, and that is what is scary. Even scarier, Quint, is the fact that our leaders don't get it either.
That's it.
They don't.
But what if they get it, but they feel powerless?
They cannot get it to that extent and feel powerless.
But they acting that way?
Well, they cannot. They don't get it.
How could you embrace a project like the SSZ, which is obviously going to overwhelm the country? Embrace it after hearing things like this. You know? It amazes me. But you see...
But it's after the fact. It's after the fact.
After the fact, how?
How you mean after the fact?
Okay, so let's say the SSZ was signed before the speech, which it probably was. So it's after the fact now that they're hearing this. Can they recant? Can they backpedal? What can they do now?
But if they were aware, that is why I asked the caller before. I said, you being one who wants to be a leader, are you aware of the kind of world?
Rough one.
That is why I asked that question. So what I'm saying is, when you decide to be a leader, don't think it's going to be some sugar-coated. I've said it numerous occasions.
No.
I've said when you decide to become a leader and you're moving into a boardroom for discussion and negotiations, know that it's going to be a dog-eat-dog world.
Nobody likes a leader who is superficial and who isn't sure of himself, or don't have confidence to get out and do the things that are necessary for us to survive.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody wants a wishy-washy leader. Okay? And there are too many of those in the Caribbean.
But it seems as if, though, as I've said before, and I reiterate again, now you notice, let's go back to that phrase that he used, a rule-based order is an overused phrase. And we are delusional to follow things like climate cult. Now, let's go to Mayor Motley. You notice that those are two things that she pushes forward always when she go. She speaks about, after the raid in Venezuela, the first thing she said, the rules-based order is a threat. You understand?
And obviously, it's more than a threat.
Yes, but have we heard any of those men, any one of them, men? I'm a man, Mr. McMahon is a man, we are men, but we honestly can't find not one among the men, not one. We hear one that you've been playing and he's whimpering, sounding so hopeless.
We just don't have the kind of leadership that we used to have, and which we need right now, because you see, those guys, they have the kind of leadership which know exactly what they want. Because you see, the baseline thing is, the world has finite resources. Everybody cannot live with the standards of living of northern countries on those resources. So it's going to be a fight for those resources. And what Rubio clearly says is that, hey, sorry, but we're not giving up ours, and we are going to take yours if to prevent our decline.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what he said.
It's plain. I don't know what else he could have said to make it any plainer.
But hear this, Mr. McMahon. You see that talk that he just gave in Germany? Let's roll back and listen to the talk that this guy gave when he was appointed as Minister of War, that he gave to the generals in the USA. You don't see the similarities? We don't want weak generals, and if you don't, you're going to go. This is the very same speech, just worded slightly differently, that he's giving, that Marco Rubio is giving in Germany. We don't want our allies to be weak.
You know, there's a part in the speech, too, which he made note of, we fight and we agree back.
Yes, we fought and we
agree back, etc.
Yeah.
Right? And what that should tell us, right, is that even there, he sees the good things about uniting. About you may have differences, but coming together again.
That's it.
We don't get that message down here.
That's the point. That's a great point.
You just don't see it.
Because up to now we can't get our leaders to understand the significance of uniting as leaders and speaking as one body. Not even that we can't get.
And that is why I don't apologize for being hard on our leaders. I mean, I read something from a Jamaican publication there that basically said we have a moral obligation to help Cuba now, but we are afraid, the leader, you're speaking specifically to Jamaica.
Yes.
He wasn't even thinking Caribbean. Is afraid to do it alone, right? And so what I'm saying is, even though there is impetus among the society, even though ordinary people would feel, well, this ain't fair, this is targeting the wrong people, this is going to hurt the wrong people, ordinary people who just want to live.
Yeah.
That is, it's fundamentally unfair. But
and here's this: they're still punishing the innocent people for the stance that Castro took years
Yeah,
ago.
because these little children
Years
don't want
ago,
anything
Castro
to do with
has
that.
died.
Yeah.
His brother took over. His brother is gone, and
yeah.
they're still punishing these people.
Exactly. You know,
That's
and I dovetail this into something else that happened this morning. I think Hortensia was about to mention it. What happened with
Andrew Mobot Windsor arrested on suspicion of misconduct.
You know what that tells me. You know what that tells me. You know why the Western civilization is so resilient. They at least, at some point, put checks on absolute power.
Yes.
Right? We don't do that down here. You know what he's basically being investigated for? He was arrested for?
What?
Misconduct in public
office.
Right? You think that would ever happen down here?
No.
Don't you see people in public office doing things, have done things, recorded things?
But how long did it take?
And there's no recourse to justice.
But how long did it take for this to happen, though?
But it happened.
It happened. That is the key.
And as his brother said, the law must take its course.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Mr. McMahon, that is why recently you brought up, when we had a conversation, you brought up a conversation I had with Mr. Chesley Hamilton when he was suggesting that, well, you have the power. So if you have the power, but as I said, I had already called him on it, and he had said, well, if you don't have the kind of people who are going to call you to account and so on and so forth. But this is the relevance of why we must ask these questions and why we must not let these things go. Because when he first made the statement and he said, you think that if it was Bratcher this would have happened? That is why I asked him, what are you trying to, so yeah, I agree with you.
Exactly. And I mean, well, in Bratcher's case, I mean, he made, I think it was, what is it, DeGrasse, there was a DeGrasse.
Yeah, DeGrasse,
who did something while he was minister.
Yeah.
And he fired him.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, I'm putting that, what has happened in this case, with what Rubio said in terms of falling out and coming back together and so on. The systems that they have, okay, helps with their resilience.
Yes.
Okay? They have systems that check power eventually.
Yeah.
Yes, Trump can do what he likes now, but he's in mortal fear of the upcoming midterms elections when people may make a different pronouncement on him. Okay? There's always that. Down here, we've inherited the British system, the British parliamentary system and so on. But what it shows up there with this arrest, for instance, is that at least they have checks and balances, which we don't have down here.
But
down here,
even with this thing, what's this guy name who died? So there's this big Epstein. You see the kind of repercussions it's causing around the world, where people are demanding their leaders to give account or step down, down here you just things just loosely, and people say, man, the man is a wife,
Yeah, it's superficial. That would exactly be the response.
Mind you.
But look at the Antigua Prime Minister. Remember the stuff that had happened with Mr. Assad Michael. May so continue to rest in peace. Remember, he was asked to resign.
But that is very rare. And mind you, I am not saying our leaders, what is purported in this Epstein thing, our leaders, as far as we're aware, aren't anywhere near that, because we're hearing about cannibalism and all kind of stuff, and so this is very, very horrific. But what we're saying is, the outside there, they're saying, well, give us an account or step down, redeem yourself here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about accountability, and it's unfortunate that we don't have that level of maturity and to demand accountability from whoever exercises power. Because if you and I understood where Mr. Hamilton was coming from.
Yeah,
if you got power, the usual thing is to abuse it. It always tend towards there.
Yeah.
The more power you have and the longer you have it, you're more inclined to abuse it. And that is why you should be held to account. That is exactly why you should be held to account.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, we tend to gloss over those things. And as a result, because you see, those kinds of things, the reason why the world over is so incensed about the Epstein thing is because what it represents. It represents powerful people abusing vulnerable people. It includes things like pedophilia and all those things. And every decent person is incensed by something like that.
Yeah.
You know, that's basic. I mean, you don't do those things. Okay?
Anyway,
I want
to take a commercial break because I have some more clips to play with this thing to do with these third-party thing that is happening. Yeah, so today is going to be really hot in terms of these clips. we're just going to turn up the heat in this place.
Yeah,
so
it's a pity it wasn't a Wednesday or Monday when you could always do it in
voices. Okay, so let's take that bit of a commercial break.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
You can win more with the Mega Ball. Pick 3 and pick 4, you could get it all.
Yes, playing Pick 3 and Pick 4 with the Caribbean Lottery just got more rewarding. For just an extra $1, increase your winnings by $1,000 with Pick 3 and $10,000 with Pick 4 when you play the Mega Ball.
You ready to win a little extra? You ready to win a little extra? You ready to win a little extra? Then get on the ball.
Play Pick 3 and Pick 4 with Mega Ball at Caribbean Lottery agents island-wide. Must be 21 and over to play.
Magnum, my brand. Everybody put your Magnum in the air now. From you a drink Magnum, make me see. Take charge of things now your place now. From the river to the beach to the street. Hot Magnum when me have in a me hand there. Here a sipper, she tell me sweet. Look for me watch for your quick time check. Yeah. Right now a Magnum a for your beat. Enjoy yourself every day of the week with a Magnum. My life I forget sweeter. Must be 18 years and older to drink. Drink responsibly.
Here comes the Mega Ball. You could win more with the Mega Ball. Pick 3 and pick 4 and you could get all.
Yes, playing Pick 3 and Pick 4 with the Caribbean Lottery just got more rewarding. Now you can win more with the Mega Ball. For just an extra $1, increase your winnings by $1,000 with the Pick 3 and a big $10,000 with the Pick 4. Don't wait, play today. Play Pick 3 and Pick 4 with the Mega Ball at Caribbean Lottery agents island-wide.
You ready to win a little extra? Then get on the ball.
Must be 21 and over to play.
And we are back on Island T, just about 34 minutes after the hour of 9. And as we continue along on Island T, I just saw something about the Afrikaners, the white Afrikaners that were settling in the U.S.
Yeah.
That the conditions that they're settling in are basically unlivable. When they're not there in motel for weeks, they claim in unsafe areas.
Well, I have no sympathy for them.
Oh boy. And they are being given houses with mold. That's why they always say the grass is never greener on the other side. It's a sad thing, but they too, because of their color, thought they would have been way better than what the other colors that they left behind.
That's why I reiterate, I have no sympathy for them.
Well, sir.
Anyway, we're going to get to this clip, and this is entitled, let me make sure that I can sing it. Is it a coincidence, or does this sound strangely familiar in relation to the Caribbean leaders and the recent rhetoric when it pertains to the third-party thing? So this is a perspective from Africa, but I want you to listen to what is coming out of Africa and ask yourself if it doesn't sound like kind of deja vu or very familiar.
Ghana surprised many observers when it agreed to participate, particularly because of its strong diplomatic positioning within West Africa and its public posture around sovereignty and regional leadership. Ghanaian officials defended the move by arguing that the deportees involved were African nationals. Framing the decision in the language of Pan-African solidarity, they suggested that accepting fellow Africans was consistent with broader continental responsibility. So what began as a limited diplomatic experiment slowly evolved into a growing network of agreements. And that's when Africa stopped being peripheral to the policy and became central to it. Because once multiple African states entered the equation, the narrative shifted. This was no longer just a bilateral deal, here or there. Africa had become one of the primary regions through which the United States was externalizing its immigration enforcement strategy. The question is not simply why some countries said yes. The question is what factors, economic, diplomatic, strategic, shaped those decisions. And now, we have more clarity on all of this because the U.S. Senate Committee on Foreign Relations has just released a detailed February 2026 minority report titled, At What Cost? Inside the Trump administration's secret deportation deals, released by the Democratic members of the committee, sounds the alarm on what it describes as a dramatic shift in how U.S. foreign policy is being conducted, laying out exactly how these deportation deals have been structured and how they've been financed. According to the committee, deportation, which was once a narrow immigration enforcement tool, has now become a routine instrument of diplomacy. And before we even get into the specific dollar amounts, here are three major revelations from the report. First, the cost. The committee concludes that the administration has spent tens of millions of taxpayer dollars to relocate a relatively small number of migrants to third countries. In some cases, individuals were flown thousands of miles to a third country only to later be flown again on U.S.-funded flights back to their country of origin. The report describes the system as costly, wasteful, and offering no measurable benefit in deterrence. In other words, expensive symbolism. Second, oversight concerns. The report raises serious questions about direct payments that have been made to foreign governments, some of which have documented corruption challenges, governance instability, or human rights concerns. It states that there is little evidence that the State Department is monitoring how U.S. funds are used, tracking the treatment of deportees, or enforcing compliance with agreement terms. In some cases, officials were reportedly instructed not to follow up. Third is the lack of transparency. The committee argues that Congress and the American public have not been given full visibility into these arrangements. There are open questions about additional incentives, whether tariff threats, visa bans, or other concessions were used like what many suspected in the case of Ghana. The report even notes that in pursuit of its deportation agenda, the administration entered into opaque arrangements with adversarial governments. So taken together, the committee describes this as a troubling shift in American power. Deportation has become a bargaining chip. Foreign policy is being conducted through cash payments and quiet concessions, and accountability appears limited. With that context, let's look at the numbers. Because once you see exactly who was compensated and how much, the geopolitical picture becomes even clearer. So according to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee report, the Trump administration has provided more than $32 million in direct payments to 5 countries that agreed to accept third country deportees. Let me repeat that. More than $32 million in direct financial compensation. And here's where Africa becomes central. Out of that total, $20.1 million went directly to 3 African nations. Here's the breakdown. Rwanda received $7.5 million. Equatorial Guinea also received $7.5 million. Eswatini received $5.1 million. That alone brings the total paid to African countries to over $20 million. The remaining payments went to El Salvador, which received $7.76 million, and Palau, which received $7.5 million. Now remember, these were largely lump sum payments. In some cases, according to the report, the money was provided even before deportees arrived, upfront, for agreements to accept migrants who were not nationals of those countries. And that's just the direct compensation. On top of that, the report estimates that the administration has spent at least $7.2 million on deportation flights to at least 10 countries. Some of those flights used U.S. military aircraft, costing more than $32,000 per hour. One example cited in the report shows that flights transporting just 51 individuals to Rwanda, Eswatini, and Equatorial Guinea over 7 months cost approximately $2.5 million. So when you combine direct payments and transportation costs, the total spending is estimated to be upward of $40 million. More than $40 million for a relatively small number of deportees.
Now, we're going to go into those deportees in detail, but do you see any similarities? The American public and Congress not aware of what's happening. We, the Caribbean people, were not aware. It got spilled, and then we heard one leader, then one particular one said, is a lot of us sign off on this, you know, right? And then they started to, here's another similarity. The African leaders tried to make their people feel more comfortable by telling them, but it's our brothers, you know, it's our brothers. The same thing happening down here. Well, it's Caribbean nationals from other islands, but why those Caribbean islands, if they're in the Caribbean, don't want their people? You understand? So many questions. So before I go any further, just let me go right into the next clip where we're going to hear now a breakdown of these individuals. And remember again in that you hear about military planes, and we hear the rumor, the shushu about military plane in our proximity. We don't know why, but these are questions, you understand?
Now here's the major alarm this report raises, and it's one that goes directly to American taxpayers. The committee argues that this policy represents a misuse of taxpayer dollars because when you actually do the math, it doesn't add up. Take Rwanda. According to the report, Rwanda has received approximately 7 deportees so far. 7. Yet the government was paid $7.5 million. That's an estimated cost of roughly $1.1 million per migrant. $1 million per person. Now ask yourself, American taxpayer, what could $1.1 million do for the average American citizen? How many small businesses could that fund? How many veterans services? How many school programs? And Rwanda is not the only case where the per-person cost appears extraordinarily high. Eswatini and Equatorial Guinea show similarly disproportionate ratios, $414,000 and $283,000 cost per migrant, respectively. Very high payments relative to the number of deportees received, especially when compared to El Salvador, whose cost per migrant is just about $21,000. So the natural question becomes, what is really being paid for here? Will these countries be receiving more deportees down the line? Or are these lump sum payments securing something broader? Strategic positioning, diplomatic concessions, long-term cooperation, business deals, with deportation serving as the public-facing justification. Because again, when you compare this to the reported per-person costs in El Salvador, the disparity is glaring. The math is uneven. And when the math is uneven, we have to ask questions. The report also raises another serious concern. Some payments are going to governments with documented corruption and human rights challenges. Take Equatorial Guinea. The country ranks near the bottom globally on corruption indices, 172 out of 182 countries in one global corruption ranking. And this is a government whose vice president, Teodoro Nguema Obiang Mangwe, the son of the president, has long faced international scrutiny for his lavish lifestyle and alleged corruption. In fact, he was previously sued by the United States for allegedly amassing more than $300 in assets through corruption and money laundering. So here's the tension. On one hand, the United States is transferring millions of taxpayer dollars to governments that it has historically criticized for corruption and governance failures. On the other hand, the Senate report suggests that there is limited evidence of meaningful oversight, no clear monitoring of how funds are being used, no transparent tracking of how deportees are being treated, and no visible enforcement mechanisms to ensure compliance with agreement terms. This is not a minor concern, because when deportation becomes transactional and the payments are significant, accountability is not optional. It is essential. So we return to the central question. Is this disciplined immigration enforcement, or is this expensive geopolitical bargaining? And if it is bargaining, what exactly is being negotiated behind the scenes? So let's step back for a minute, because this is bigger than deportation. This is about how power is exercised in the modern global system. For decades, foreign aid was framed as development assistance. Security cooperation was framed as strategic partnership. Trade agreements were framed as mutual benefit. But this is something different. This is immigration enforcement being woven directly into foreign policy. The Senate report makes it clear. Deportation is no longer just a domestic legal process. It has become a bargaining chip. Countries are being approached, deals are being negotiated, money is being transferred, and migration is being used as leverage. Now here's where Africa becomes central. Many of the countries approached are not global superpowers, right? They're smaller states, developing economies, governments navigating budget pressures, debt burdens, and diplomatic balancing acts between major powers. So when the United States comes to the table, offering millions of dollars, it's not a small conversation. That's influence. That's leverage. And here's the uncomfortable reality. In a multipolar world, smaller nations often monetize geopolitics. They leverage relationships with Washington. They balance Beijing. They negotiate Brussels. They calculate Moscow. Now, this may not be about weakness. It may be about strategy. But strategy always has trade-offs. Because once deportation becomes part of your diplomatic portfolio, once you're publicly known as a destination for third country removals, that becomes part of your international identity. And here's a deeper question. Is Africa shaping this system, or is Africa being positioned within it? Because there's a difference. If these governments are strategically extracting value, building leverage, expanding influence, then that's one story. But if they are absorbing external pressure in exchange for short-term cash injections, that's another story. That's where this becomes less about Trump and more about future positioning of African states in global power politics. So the real issue here isn't just how much was paid. The real issue is, what does accepting these deals signal about negotiating power in today's world? And who ultimately sets the terms?
Riveting question. You see, this is the kind of journalism that we lack globally. You notice she doesn't just bring the news, she analyzes it.
Yeah.
She breaks it down and she asks questions. I remember years ago I approached the manager here and I said to him, I proposed that perhaps I should do a program called News Analysis, right? But he didn't want to touch that. And we can understand why, okay? But this is the kind of analysis we want, because when you just bring the news, it passes over most people's head. But when you have someone who's savvy enough to not making any accusations, just bringing the news and then asking questions. Is it this why this is happening? And if this is why, then it implies this. You understand? And this is very, very chilling, because you notice she said they are not moving at the bigger countries in Africa. They're moving at the ones who are in financial problems.
Yeah.
And we know that is what is happening in the region right now. And on the back of Marco Rubio's speech, then you bring into question, why all of this?
Yeah.
You understand? Here he is, they're offering this, and it's chilling, you know, because I left out a clip that tells you that these are being pushed, and they are all that the people, you hear all those numbers that she called? All of the people in those numbers to the different places for like 1 point something, all of them are criminals. Every one of them. Okay?
But like those folks that were sent to El Salvador, yeah, their amount is less because they've basically been sent to a prison.
But hear this. It seems, we're not sure, it seems as if the more dangerous the prisoners, the money goes up. You see? So that is why the leader, I'm going to play this final clip, and the leader is going to, this is chilling. This leader is chilling. He signed on to the deal, you know. But having signed on to the deal, he reached a point where he says, I reached the point where I'm going to tell them, go to hell. So when our Caribbean leaders are saying they have no options and you sign off on things and blah, 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 listen to this clip.
Not all African leaders are taking this quietly. And one of the most interesting voices in this conversation is President Paul Kagame of Rwanda. Now, remember, Rwanda was one of the first African nations to accept a third country deportation deal. And not only that, President Kagame recently traveled to Washington to sign a U.S.-facilitated peace agreement between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, brokered under the Trump administration. So based on those actions alone, you might assume that Kagame is closely aligned with Trump. You might assume that there is political alignment, strategic alignment, you know, some sort of ideological alignment going on. But in a recent public address, Kagame complicated that assumption. Instead of sounding like a compliant partner, he delivered sharp criticism of what he described as foreign pressure, coercion, and interference from the so-called international community. And while he did not name Trump directly in the clip, the broader context, ongoing diplomatic pressure, tariff threats, sanctions language, and aid leverage makes clear that his frustration extends to powerful Western actors broadly, including Washington. In other words, this is not a simple alliance story. This is a leader navigating power, publicly pushing back, even while engaging strategically behind the scenes. And that tension tells us something important, because it suggests that these agreements may not reflect ideological closeness, but rather calculated positioning within an uneven system.
International community comes to me and says, yeah, you see, you know, you need to do this, you need... So what? Don't you realize that by doing that, you are actually emboldening this person not to find a solution to their problems, or whatever problems that are between us and them. In the end, it depends on you. You know, these people in international community say they are helpful. They have been supportive. They are supportive in creating problems for us. They are helpful in one sense of solving the problems, and helpful in another sense of creating problems for us. The amount of threats we come under on a daily basis. We will do this if you don't do this. We will do that if you don't do that. You know, sometimes you feel choked by this. But instead of being choked by all of that, I will be choked by just being defiant and telling you to go to hell. You can't create problems for me, at the same time come and blame me for these problems, and then start threatening me. How? How? It's a daily thing, it's a regular thing, it becomes the conversation. Instead of addressing the problem the way it should be, this Tshisekedi man who stands there and abuses people and threatens and does that, and then in the end, this same international community comes to me and says, yeah, you see, you need to do this, you need... Like, what? And I tell them, don't you realize that by doing that, you are actually emboldening this person not to find a solution to their problems, or whatever problems that are between us and them. You treat a country or a president or a government like a spoiled child. You look back and, check. There is no blame that ever goes to the very people who created this problem and who continue in the same problem. But when it comes to Rwanda, it's our problems we are blamed for, and it's their problems we are blamed for. So we are blamed for two kinds of problems. Our own, we may have our own problems, that for sure we'll own up and deal with that. But how do we deal with the blame for other people's problem? They should be owning up to and dealing with. How do we deal with that? Just by threats? You come threaten people, I will do this. Well, some of them did whatever they did, but I hesitate to tell them. I say, okay, you did that, so what did you get out of it? Whatever you did, what did you get out of it? The situation just go to worse. And for me, from the beginning, it was obvious it was going to get worse, because you are not addressing the root cause of the problem. Instead, you are just massaging the people who are actually behind these problems. So how does the world expect us to behave? Just listen to them and do whatever they ask us to do, even if it is leading to our own destruction? Let me tell you, for our existence, for our well-being, if somebody intends to create these problems for us, we don't expect to ask for favors from the ones who are causing these problems to us. We are not going to ask for a favor. Well, maybe through such a manipulations and so on, people emerge who think that is the way we should live. Maybe, I don't know. But in some of us, his lifetime, in our lifetime, some of us will try and stand up to that.
Oof. Now let's sit with what Kagame actually said. He talks about being helped, but in ways that also create problems. He talks about daily threats. If you don't do this, we'll do that. He says sometimes you feel choked by the pressure. And then he says something powerful. Instead of being choked, he would rather be defiant, even telling them to, quote, go to hell. That's not diplomatic language. That's frustration. That's a leader signaling that behind closed doors, the pressure is real. Now, here's the question. If Rwanda voluntarily entered these deportation agreements, why publicly push back like this? Is this political theater for a domestic audience? Is it strategic signaling to the West? Or is it an honest reflection of how smaller nations experience global power? Two things can be true at the same time. A country can negotiate deals and still feel the weight of pressure behind those negotiations. Do you see this as sovereignty in action or sovereignty under constraint? Are these African governments playing the game smartly? Are they giving in? Or are they navigating a system where saying no carries consequences? And let me take it one step further, right? What would you do if you were in their position, trying to balance economic needs, diplomatic relationships, domestic stability, global pressure, and the reality that powerful nations can apply leverage in ways that are not always visible to the public. What would you do? Would you take the deal? Would you reject it? Would you publicly push back while privately negotiating? This conversation isn't simple, and this is exactly the kind of nuance that we have to wrestle with. This idea of powerful nations using money as leverage and smaller nations.
Yeah. Isn't that chilling?
Very. But
Now,
we see-
Kagame signed off on it, you know, but now he's realizing, and that what he's speaking there is in front of a big audience.
Yeah.
He's bringing it out in the public.
Yeah.
So what are our Caribbean leaders going through that they're not telling us? You remember, I could remember you telling me on a number of occasions that a particular one, he looks frustrated, he looks scared. But they rather to come and tell us lies that will down the line be detrimental to us as a people than to do what Kagame did.
But
Kagame,
some of them are doing it, you know.
how?
But look at how Gaston came out and said, "I not holding no secret no more. This is what happening."
But what did he tell us?
He just told us that this basically signed on to something.
That is why I played the first clip that said, is this reminiscent of where he says, well, you know, it's for our people. And hear what a lot of them are being saying. Well, we expect them to send the skilled people and that kind of, they're not telling us the truth. I don't try to gloss anything over.
Yeah.
But Kagame comes and he says, man, you what? Notice he said that, what?
Yeah.
So you're telling me you're coming with a solution and then you're creating a problem that is going to be detrimental to me down the line? People in the Caribbean wake up and analyze what is happening. I keep saying it, you know, our comfort level, stay in your comfort level and continue to be ignorant. Hello, caller, where are you going to? This is me final because we're 3 minutes over time. I'm just going to gonna have to be brief.
I don't try to blast anything.
Hello.
Yes, thanks. Let me just turn down this. Quint, those clips you played opened my eyes more clearly.
That's why I asked you the question, you know. Do you understand the world that we're living in when you're putting yourself in a position to be a leader? You think you have... Do you think... I'm going to tell you point blank, you know. I would have to be wrong, but I don't think you're nowhere near having the kind of guts that it takes to stand up to any of these people.
I decline that judgment.
You can decline all you want.
The longer I live, the more I learn. The longer I live, the more I learn. Let me tell you, I believe in terms of leadership, what comes before your plate and what you may foresee or what you may think, you have to be transparent with the people of your country. This is no one-man thing. Because as Kagame recognized, the money sounds sweet and tempting. But what is behind all that? There are more to it. Now, the question that comes to me, let's say, for instance, St. Kitts and Nevis was offered $3 million for how much deportees or whatever they are coming in. How that money will be distributed? Is it money to support those deportees? Is it a deal for the government? How those people will be sustainable moving forward?
Good question.
Okay.
Because remember after you have this, and remember, here's the point that you all aren't missing. Again, I go back to Marco Rubio's speech in Germany. Listen to Marco Rubio's speech, then come back in the Caribbean and Africa and understand what they're doing. They're sending people who over time will undermine your country. So they give you this money, then you're saddled with them, and whenever they're ready and they call, why you think he could go over there in Germany and be so blatant and talking about we're gonna take back the power and this is delusional, and why you think he could be? They have a plan, and this is why I keep saying our Caribbean leaders are naive. Everyone else has a plan but us as a Let me tell you, see this Caribbean heads of government thing coming up? Our leaders had better be aware that we are listening to hear what they're coming out with. And if this thing comes out and we don't hear about a unified body and see it, don't just say it, that we see it henceforth. Anyway, we've come to the end of this session.
Whatever they are offering, per head, deportee, whatever criminals they are, that money is not enough.
It's not enough. But you should. That is true. But it's a lot still per individual. But to run an economy, it's like it's like a little drop, a little dot on a whole big blackboard. So why are our leaders falling for this
But funny
thing?
enough, they're gonna give us that, but they're gonna get it back when we have to import.
But that's it.
Money, with that money, they put it to
And they're going to get it back, not even when we import. They're going to get it back when they put us back into colonialism. That is their intent. So don't forget that. Yeah. So anyway, we're going to have to cut.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're going to have to cut and bring it to an end. Any parting curtains here?
Just to all to have a good Thursday. Godspeed. See you tomorrow.
Found the sound 98.9 FM.
Don't throw those bottles away. Turn them into money today. Vitamalt bottles equal cash in your pocket. It's super easy. Just take those empty Vitamalt bottles to any Cara Brewery distribution truck or any drinks depot in St. Kitts and Nevis. We're keeping our beautiful Twin Island paradise clean. Vitamalt bottles equal cash back. Keep it clean.